Welcome to Docker tutorial. Previous one tutorial that I've given on Laravel with Docker. So you may know that how you will create a Docker environment for your Laravel application. But in this tutorial, we will give this example in professional way. For example, in previous tutorial, I haven't mentioned that if you upload your resources in Git, then when you will pull it from Git, then you will not see the vendor file. So you have to give the command after accessing container manually to update the vendor file or Docker Compose update these types of file. And the same thing, for example, you have a database, and in Laravel you know about the migration command like php artisan migrate, or there is a command for seed data like php dv seed data, something like that. So when example you are in a team member, and in a team you are working together with some developers, and for example you are trying to create a Docker environment and you will push it in Git, and in the same time your another member will use your this Docker environment and also this your application. So basically what will happen when a new user or new member will use your this Docker environment, he have to give this Docker Compose update this command manually, or he just need to create the give the migrate command manually, or also the seed command manually. So this we can create an environment which will make these types of process very easy. So easiest way, and also it will be professional way. So let's see how we can create. So first, in previous tutorial we already given I already given the instruction that how you will create a Laravel Docker environment. I will just in this tutorial I will not describe, I will just copy and paste, and you will see how we will create a Docker file. So let's proceed. So first we will need a PHP environment in our Docker file. In this Docker file I've just written this PHP environment with Apache file. We have used a PHP image with Apache. And next we will mention the work environment. Next we will be enable the Docker file mode rewrite, and then we will install some Linux library. So in previous tutorial we installed only one library, that was libraries ICU. Previous tutorial I also given in video description that you can see. But in this tutorial we also added some more libraries like MariaDB, because we will use here the MySQL database or MariaDB database, and in the same time we will also use here the PHP MyAdmin. So also we have I already installed some other libraries in Linux like library PNG, library JPG, FreeType, and JPG, and PNG, lots of some others library that I already used. The reason is when you will try to upload the JPG or the PNG file, or if you need to measure, if you need to get an image size when a user will upload an image, then you need these types of libraries in your environment, in Linux environment. Okay, so next we need the composer. So we will use the latest composer image in here, and next we will install PHP extension. So you can see I have used here the getx intl and pnew MySQL. It's mandatory, this PHP extension, and also the GD for PHP image processing, and also for image purpose uses this library. So we have just used here the GD extension in here. And final thing, we will enable the GD mode. It's important. By this command you are able to enable the GD mode. So the next thing, I will save everything in here. So it's already uploaded in Git, so you can just check that you have written everything properly. And the next thing that I will use, I will go the Docker Compose file, and I will just mention here my all services. and the first service will be my application. So you can just create my service name Laravel Docker, and first I will mention the container name. So my container name will be Laravel Docker, or any other name you can use. I will use here the Laravel Docker just, and here I will just use a build. So when you will just use this build attribute, if you just give here the path, it will actually search your Docker file and it will just execute the Docker file. So I will just give here the dot, because dot means it's the same directory I am with the Docker file. So when you will give the build dot, it will build this Docker file. Okay, so next thing that I'm going to use, I'm just going to use the volumes. The volumes actually sync your local data to your container. So for example, Laravel app, a folder will be created here, and if you add any files and any folder in this Laravel app, it will automatically sync in your HTML root directory in your container. Okay, so next thing that I want to use, I want to change the port. So default port is 80, but we want to change it to 9000. So first we have given our desired port, and next the existing port 9000. Okay, so next what we will do, we'll just create an environment for our Laravel application. So now we just need to MySQL DB. So for that I will use the MySQL, give the service name first, the MySQL DB, and here I will mention here I will use the image. So this image I will use the MySQL latest version, but I will prefer always to use the specific version. Okay, so for example, if you just go to run this application after 10 years, so after 10 years it will just install your MySQL latest version, so your application will not run after 10 years. So please always try to use the specific version in here, but for this tutorial I'm just using here the latest one. And next we will just give here the environment. We will set some environment for MySQL, for example root password that I wanted to use here, the root, and database name you can add any database name, for example Laravel Docker. It will be my database. And also you can mention the port, or if you want to default port, for example 3306 is the MySQL DB port. So I'm not changing the port, but I'm just mentioning in here that 3306 will be my port. If you want to change the port, you need to change in here, but I'm not changing. If you just not give this line, no problem. Okay, for last thing that I wanted to use, it's actually optional. If you want to use the phpMyAdmin, that you can use. If you don't want to use this phpMyAdmin, that you not need this line. So my next service will be phpMyAdmin, and I'm going to use here the image, the phpMyAdmin latest, and the same sentence. If you always try to mention the specific version. And also I'm just going to use here the port. So phpMyAdmin default port is 80, but I'm going to change it to 9001. And also environment that I wanted to put here, the PM arbitrary one. It's actually, I don't know what it is actually. I just copy and paste it from the Docker image. So I'm just use here the one. You can skip this part, no problem, if you just not give this part. Okay, so I'm going to save everything. The Docker file I have saved, and also I've saved this one. So now if you just run this command, docker compose build, so it will just build everything. We are just waiting some moment for building. So you can see that already finished. So our build has finished. Now if you just write a command called docker compose up, then it will up. So now you can see that if you just open your Docker desktop, you should see a container is running with 3 services. Okay, so now what we will do, we'll create a make file in here. We'll create a make file. We'll just give here the name make. M is capital and rest of the part is small letter, and make file. And in here I will just a little bit change the command that I'm using. For example, docker compose build, it's a big command which I will make little bit smaller. For example, make build, it will build. Okay, so for that I'm just using here build, and here I'm going to use a command docker compose build with no cache and force rm. So for example, it will build completely new. If there is any cache, it will remove. And next, for example, you want to stop your container, you can use the stop, docker compose the stop. And also, for example, you wanted to up, for up command I'm just going here docker compose up. So now if you just give these types of command, what will happen? For example, I'm in here, and if you just give here the make down, make stop. So when you will just write the make stop, it will stop. So you can see that it has stopped. So now if you just write here the make up, so you can see it will up. Okay, so it is okay, so it is upped. So it's interesting. So it's actually make your life more easy. So usually when you developer will try to build this container, he just need to write make build, so it will build your environment. So we will just work a little bit more. So let's first access our docker container and install the Laravel. So I'm just going to here write a docker exec it command, and my container name is Laravel Docker, and I'm just pushing here the bash. Okay, so I'm now in container, so I will just install Laravel now. So this is the command, and I'm pasting it here, and I will install my Laravel in root directory. So I'm just giving here the dot, so it will install root directory, that means in HTML directory. In the same time, it will update everything in Laravel PHP folder that in my local, so it will sync because I have used volumes in here. Okay, so now hit on enter. So you can see it's installing Laravel in my Docker container, and in the same time it's actually update everything in Laravel folder. So it will take some time in here. Okay, so now question is, if you just update or upload this project in Git, then git ignore, there's a git ignore file in here. So it will ignore your vendor folder, so you will not see the vendor folder in your Git. So when another user, for example another team members upload this project from Git, then he have to give a command composer update after access in Docker container, right? So it's very difficult, or sometimes it may be difficult for junior developer or any developer to access the Docker container, then give any command. But you can make it more easy to using the make command in here. So what we will do, for example, after install everything, you need a Docker compose update command, right? So you can make a command in here to make Docker compose update, right? So how we'll do, we'll just here using the composer update. Okay, so this is the make composer update, will make your update command. So here what we have to do, we have to access our container, then we have to give the command composer update, right? So this is the command docker exec, this is my name of my container, and then it will just give a command called composer update. So now if we just exit from here, I'm exiting from my container, now I'm in local. So now if I just give here the make composer update command, so what we'll do, it will oh sorry, I haven't saved it. Okay, now see, so make composer update, so you will see okay, sorry, what's my okay, so my container name is actually Laravel Docker, not Laravel app, I'm sorry. So I'm just going my name of my container. So now let's see again, make composer update. So you can see, so composer update, this command actually running. Okay, so when the project will be uploaded in your host, if another developer update in his computer, then he just need to give a command make update, make composer update, then the environment will be set automatically. Okay, the next thing, you know that Laravel by default given some migration file, or may you already created some migration file for your project. It may there has 20 or 30 migrations file in here. Also it may you have created the seeder file in here, factories and also seeder files. So now when a user download, or a member download your project, it may you want to insert all database in data, insert the all database tables automatically, and in the same time you want to push some data for this dummy data for the users. Okay, so you should, so that for do this you have to give a command. Okay, for example, usually we use the php artisan migrate command, and another way php artisan db seed command. So this both command you have to give after accessing container, but in by this make file you can make simple. Okay, for okay, for that I'm just going to give I'm going to create a command called data. So it will make some make data, something like that. So I will just here I will use here the docker exec laravel app -c php artisan migrate. So this command that I will give, and another command in the same time we will use the seed command in here. Okay, so this both will work. So let's check. So first I will go in 9001 port. Okay, so you can see the oh, terrible docker, sorry. This I have made this spelling mistake, sorry for this spelling mistake. Okay, whatever, we will use this terrible docker, no problem. So we'll use this in our environment. So set the db connection that you are seeing in here. So our db name will be terrible docker, root will be user, root will be password, but this host name that will be this MySQL db. Okay, so I'm going to change. Okay, so I've changed everything. So now if I just give a, so you can see it's actually empty, there's nothing, but I'm just going to give a command that's called, oh, another thing, it will be Laravel Docker, the container name. Okay, I will save it and just hit on make data command. So you can see that make data command worked perfectly. So it's actually made your, I think, users data in here. Okay, so it's actually not installed anything. I think something is problem in I haven't given the factory in here, seeders. In seeders I haven't given this one. So now save. Now again start make data. Okay, so it should work now. Okay, now see, you can see with the dummy data. So now if you just push your this code in git, then if another user use these sources, then he just need to give two command. Okay, one is called Oh, I haven't created another easy command in here. Let's make another. Let's go setup. So I just created a setup command in here. The setup command will do first, it will build the container. Next, it will up your container. So this is up, and then it will update your composer. Okay, interesting. So now if you just make setup command, it will build your container, and then it will up your container, then automatically it will update your composer. It will automatically give this composer update command. So when a user download your this project from git, he just need two command. First, git setup, so the project will be create, everything will be create, something like that. He just need to change this env, because env also will not upload in your git. So you have to change it env, and then he just need to give another command called make data. Then automatically database and dummy data will be created. So it's I think more professional than previous tutorial. I think it will help you more. So thank you for watching this tutorial. Welcome for the next.